agricultural and pastoral show, I met up with a client who has an unusual breed of cattle, and I promised you I'd give you the full chat I had with him there to discuss a bit about the breed, what they are, and why he has them. Without further ado, here we are.
Mark, we've got Mark Tiller here of, I always get this wrong.
Aniwaniwa.
Aniwaniwa. What does Aniwaniwa mean?
Rainbows.
Ah, okay, so that's the old farm there.
Yeah.
And I've got some good footage of these guys, but these are yours, and I think lots of people back home might be a bit confused as to what they are. I think they think they're British whites.
God,
but
no.
what are so enlighten us, what are they?
Speckle Park.
A Speckle Park, and that's where does that originate?
So that's Canadian.
Okay.
So they're an Angus shorthorn, and I might get this wrong, but the white Parkers in them.
Oh, and that's where they'll get that like colour and pointed ears.
So you've got some English chucked in there, obviously.
Oh well, English, Scottish, and I don't know where short ones from.
They'll go from either all jet black.
Yeah.
To the white ones you see dotted through there.
And you've got mostly white ones here, and we're at show, so we might as well talk about showy things. Is there a preference, like amongst the showing community, or is it anything goes?
No, so whichever calves we pick out, doesn't matter what colour they are, that's what we show.
It's more for the it's
the confirmation is what we look at, rather than the colour.
Well, that's interesting, because I'm sure, who would buy these from you, these bulls? Where they are
beef
bulls?
Farmers and dairy boys.
Okay, and what's really interesting for me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that some of the dairy farmers like these because they throw calves as that distinctive
The white ones will colour mark all the time.
Okay, and then they can tell, a bit like a Hereford or a Belted Galloway.
But these black ones will chuck more blacker calves.
Okay, so the dairy boys probably want the white ones.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But we'll sell white bulls to the dairy boys, but sub 34 kilos. We won't go over 34 kilos for the dairy boys.
Birth weights. Yeah.
This is worth stopping and explaining because I think it's a classic example of how Kiwi dairy farmers make their system as simple as possible. Dairy farmers mostly use artificial insemination, or AI, on most or all of their cows, but not all of those cows will conceive to this method. So many farmers will then introduce beef bulls as what we call sweepers to get the cows which haven't held to AI pregnant. But they need to know which calves were sired by these beef bulls, so they don't accidentally keep any of these beef cross heifers as dairy replacements. To make it really obvious which calves were sired by these bulls, they often use beef bulls with very dominant markings or colourings, so they leave that unmistakable stamp on their offspring. The most popular is probably the Hereford, which leaves that classic white face on its calves, but other dominant patterns include the belt of the Belted Galloway, the dilution gene of the Charolais or Murray Grey, and, as Mark mentions here, the spotty stripe of the Speckled Park. I'm sure this is one reason why Angus bulls, probably the most popular beef breed used over dairy cows in the UK, and comfortably so, don't have as big a market share as the Hereford over here. And, as he mentions, his dairy clients want a small calf at birth to make for an easy calving. Birth weight is highly heritable, so as he points out, genetically, Mark selects for bulls scored 34 kilos or smaller. Back to our conversation.
How did you get into them? Because you ran a big dairy.
Yeah, we run a 1,500 cow dairy, so again we're looking for colour marking and something else that'll sell.
Yeah.
So we got given our first 15 straws.
Okay.
Of a white bull, and we got about 8 calves, I think it was.
Yes.
And then it just sort of
went from snowballed.
Yeah.
And now you've got
we've got about 100 stud cattle with all the age groups here.
I was actually scanning at Mark's the other day with Dan, but we didn't see them because they're just calving. But you've got what's your little side venture of your side venture?
Buffaloes.
The buffalo. How did you end up with the buffalo?
Can you not remember? Too many whiskies.
That sounds about right.
We used to employ Nepalese staff.
Yeah.
And we always have Christmas together.
Yes.
So too many whiskies. We looked on Trade Me and there were these buffalo cows and we bought them.
I was expecting like a real a real well thought out story and a strategy. No, drunken Christmas. Awesome.
That's where all the good stories come out.
Like I say, we've got a few of these in the UK, similar deal. Ireland seem to like them.
Yes, there's a bit in Ireland, yeah.
Do you export much of this? Or
we're going to look at flushing a couple of cows and getting actually the white bull and another bull we've got at home.
Yeah.
Try and get some export semen off them and look at targeting those areas, but there's a lot of hoops we've all got to jump through just to
keeping the health right and make sure the vets can sign off on the
Yes, that's the key, those vets.
Cheers,
somebody
Mark.
at MPI.
Yeah. The key thing is to blame someone who's not here. MPI aren't here and blame them. Anyway, thanks Mark, that's awesome, man.
Have fun.